In this video, we'll walk over the basics of getting started with Chroma's TypeScript package. Our example will index the policies for an e-commerce business's support chatbot. When the user submits a query, we'd expect to get back the policies that are relevant to that query. We could then send the user's query and the results to an LLM to form an accurate document-based response back to the user. I'll use Bun here, but everything we do works with Node and Deno as well. So I've got a really basic Bun project set up here that I used Bun init to set up. And we're going to head and install ChromaDB. When you install the ChromaDB package, you get access to the Chroma CLI, which will allow you to run a Chroma server locally on your machine. To do that, we'll do bun x chroma run. And you can see here, if I bring this up, that we have a Chroma server running. Great. In another terminal window, I'll create a Chroma collection.ts file. And inside of there, we'll import a Chroma client from ChromaDB, and then we'll create a client. So the Chroma client will by default look for a server on localhost and port 8000. If you're running your server somewhere else or in a different port, you can pass in a host parameter and a port number, which is an integer, and it will connect to that. So in this file, I want to create a function that other code in my project can use to get a reference to a collection. So we'll create a get collection function, which Copilot is already thinking what I'm thinking, and we'll say collection equals await client.get, and we're going to use the get or create method here, which, like its name implies, will either get a reference to the collection or create one and send the reference back, and then we can simply return the collection. And then we'll export this get collection as the default export for this module. Chroma will embed every document we insert into our collection. So when we create this collection, we need to pass an embedding function. And we've created a set of modules to be able to do this for you. I'm going to use OpenAI. So I will bun add at Chroma core OpenAI. And that will give me access to the OpenAI embedding function, which I can import. And pass to my collection when I create it. The only required parameter is going to be the model name you want to use. I have the API key in my environment, so I'm not going to need to pass it here. Okay, great. So that's what we have for our Chroma collection.ts file. Let's go ahead and create an ingest.ts file. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a policy file for an online retailer in our project. So let's take a look. So this is a big text file. Let's look at one of these policies. Gift cards are non-refundable and cannot be exchanged for cash. So each policy is on its own line. So it'd be easy to split this file on new lines to get each policy. So back in my ingest.ts file, we'll get a reference to the file with bun.file. We'll turn it into text. And then looks like Copilot has got a nice suggestion for me here of splitting that text on a new line and then filtering. Looks like this will filter out any empty lines. Great. Let's go ahead and just console log these policies to see what it looks like. And if I make this a little bigger here. Great. This is an array of strings, just like we wanted. Okay, let's delete that console log and we'll import our get collection function we made earlier. And let's get a reference to a policies collection. Great. So now we can add these policies to our collection with collection.add. So we'll await policies collection.add, and we will pass in documents, which will be our policies, and we'll do IDs, which will be an array of IDs that represent each policy. So to do that, we'll say policies.map, and rather than passing the policy, we will pass a crypto.uuid. We can also add metadata to records. They can be useful for a variety of things like filtering. In our case, it can be helpful for debugging, perhaps. So we'll add the metadata's property here, which would be an array of objects. And in our case, we'll map over the policies. And we'll take the index and return an object with the line property being a string value of the index. After we write our data, we can use peek to look at the 10 most recent records in the collection to verify that things were written. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll run it. And there we go. So now let's create a module to query Chroma. So I'll make a query.ts file, open that up. Inside, we'll import our get collection that we created earlier. We'll get a reference to our policies collection. And now let's submit some queries to this collection. So we'll say const results equals await, and looks like it's already got some ideas for me here. Let's change out the query to what is the return policy, and maybe can I return customized items? And we'll console log the results. And let's go ahead and run that. And scrolling up a little here, we can see we've got some results. We offer 30-day return window starting the delivery date, customized items, our final sale once production begins. So that's it. We built a really simple retrieval pipeline with Chroma. If you're a Chroma Cloud user, you can use the Cloud client to automatically connect to Chroma Cloud. We need to set up some environment variables, but the CLI can help us do that. So we'll run bunx chroma login. That's going to authenticate our CLI from the browser. And I'm going to choose the team Chroma demo. And now I can run bunx chroma db connect and pass in that end file flag. And I'll be able to connect to a database called example. And that's going to create a .m file with the environment variables I need to use to connect to the cloud. Great, so we can go over to our chroma collection.ts file, swap out the Chroma client for a cloud client. And we're all set to go. So we'll source that .m file that was created when we connected to our cloud database, and we can run our ingest script. So let's go over to the Chroma dashboard and check out our data. We'll go to the example database, and the collection name was policies. And here's all our policies. It was that easy. So it's a quick look on how to get started with TypeScript and Chroma. We're excited to see what you build.